You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 16th, 2023 meeting of the LaPorte County Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the LaPorte County Board of Commissioners meeting for March 16th, 2023. We're going to start with the pledge, but afterwards we'll have a brief moment of silence for Richard Stallbrink Sr. He's a retired state trooper who passed away and the father of Judge Stallbrink. So.
Mr. President, could we also have a moment of silence for Mark Sobecki? He's the father of Jeremy Sobecki, our parks superintendent. Longtime employee of the city of LaPorte, a great guy, and one of my favorite neighbors.
Certainly, absolutely. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Put the mic on because I can't hear you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Mr. Auditor, roll call, please.
Commissioner Mrzinski.
Here.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Present.
Commissioner Haney.
Present as well.
All three present.
As you would show, we have a member attending this evening via Zoom. I assume claiming medical exemption again, sir?
A medical exemption, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, very good. Next, we have consider the agenda. Any additions, deletions, corrections this evening?
None.
All right, there are two things we should probably look into considering this evening. One would be some polling locations from the clerk that we got emailed earlier, and the other one would be to consider the board's official position for requesting for the prosecutor's request for documents. And entertain a motion to amend the agenda, put those under requests, if that's amenable to the board.
So you want a motion to, just a second, or?
A motion.
Motion to add election board locations, and then the second one would be to discuss the prosecutor wanting emails.
Sure. Be fine.
I'll second the motion.
All right, very good. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Roll call, please, Mr. Auditor.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mrzinski.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. All right, next we have consideration of claims. Mr. Auditor, please.
Commissioners, payroll for the period ending March 3rd, 2023 is in the amount of $1,455,279.06, and your operating expense claims for the period are $4,069,293.24.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
Commissioner Mrzinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. Next we have public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak at this time here in person?
Good evening. Steve Hollifield, 6782 East 100 South.
Good evening.
If you indulge me for a couple minutes. I've got some numbers here that I pulled off a Gateway concerning your quest for a new HR director. You've been told at the last council meeting, and I think the commissioners meeting also, that it's going to take $90,000 to $120,000 salary for that to get that person, a qualified person. Miss Mossman in 2022 was paid $63,411. Her temporary director, which is doing the job now, I don't know if you bumped her salary, but she was making $57,976. Similar counties as the size of LaPorte and the number of employees they have, Delaware County, Pamela McCammon, she gets $55,305. Vigo County, Kara Wright, she gets paid $55,781. Then if you look at neighboring counties, which you guys always want to look to neighboring counties for studies to increase our salaries and taxes everywhere. Porter County, Miss Rhonda Young makes $77,960. Lake County, Joseph Travis, $77,959. And in St. Joe County, Kim Karkowitz, I believe is how it's pronounced, $67,893. None of these salaries are close to that 90 to 120,000, even in 3 neighboring counties, which have a larger employee base than we do. I think that's the wrong move to make, because a lot of that 90 to 120,000, even if you do it at 100, that's higher than a lot of the elected here full time and a lot of the department heads. And I feel what's going to happen, and they're going to be crying and want it. They're going to want more money. We can't afford no more money for taxes. We're taxed to death already in this county. So I'd like to have that. Do you guys consider that when you do talk to the HR director?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sean McLaughlin. I'm here with my father. We live at 244 Lakeview Drive on Fish Lake. Currently, we are hoping that the commissioners could help us with an issue going on with one of our neighbors filling in the creek in between both of our properties. The fill that is going in between the creek is causing our property to flood significantly and is also blocking water going into Fish Lake. Is there any way that later on that you or the commissioners could help us come up with a resolution between us and our neighbor? Privately, if we could make a meeting.
Sure. I believe not long ago I saw some emails regarding this that came across. So I know there's some different entities in the county that are currently looking into this. I'd be more than happy to speak with you more about this. You want to set up a time and an appointment, we can come in, soon and speak about it. Or
Could I call and make that appointment?
yeah, absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
certainly.
I did forward that to the building commissioner and also to MS4, so I know they're aware of it. As far as what's being done, though, I haven't seen anything lately.
Yes. Thank you.
Donna Johnson, 1037 Indiana Avenue, LaPorte. I have copies here tonight for everybody to look over. If I speed read this here. I'd like to talk tonight about the state bill. Wait a second. 4, that's before the Congress now, and a lot of talk about that. The Governor's Commission on Health Care, $100 million. That's a lot of money. It's an increase of 20-fold from the previous 6.7, I think, million, and that's supposed to be 227 million, in the next budget in 2025. So if I could, would you indulge me, to understand this bill, we have to understand it's because we're coming out of the COVID. So what does healthcare look like going forward from COVID-19? COVID spread throughout the world and its effects will be with us a long time. There's a lot of room for blame in the handling of COVID. Its source, how it spread, how contagious it was, how deadly it was, what treatments were available, or if alternatives treatments were beneficial. It seems that everything that could go wrong did go wrong. We all lived through it. We know that it was a nightmare for everyone. There was an organized effort on the part of the World Health Organization, the CDC, pharmaceuticals, and the media to suppress, redirect, or misdirect information about COVID. And all these things slowly come out and are revealed. I'm not going to go into that. If any questions were raised during this period, the powers that be termed them misinformation, disinformation, or conspiracy theories. Doctors, one of our own doctors here in Indiana, I know, lost their jobs, and anyone posting information contrary to what the WHO, the World Health Organization, or CDC, wanted reported was blocked or banned from social platforms. After the initial 15 days to flatten the curve didn't flatten, but the country was split apart literally and emotionally. Lockdowns and contact tracing was initiated. We were told to social distance, wear a mask, stay home. Businesses and churches were closed. Lockdowns caused severe, long-range damage to our children, their education, and their mental health. Lockdowns destroyed businesses throughout the country. Countries that initiated lockdowns didn't fare better than those who did. Africa actually was one of the best countries and they couldn't afford the vaccine. The elderly were at the greatest risk, but hospitals forced nursing homes to take COVID patients. Long-standing scientific studies of the effectiveness of masks showed that they are not effective against viruses. While Fauci initially agreed with that, he later pushed wearing masks. COVID tests and vaccines were quickly rolled out to address the issue. The tests were often inaccurate, and the vaccine was issued by the FDA under the Emergency Use Authorization, the EUA. Treatment alternatives were ridiculed and made illegal. Under the EUA guidelines, these vaccines could not be mandated, but only used with patient consent. Under the EUA, the pharmaceuticals could not be sued. Also, statistics show that persons with the vaccine and boosters are just as likely to be reinfected as those unvaccinated. The death rates for the months post-vaccine have shown an above-average increase, even considering COVID deaths. Side effects such as heart arrhythmia, infertility, and blood clots have been seen in increasing numbers since the rollout of these vaccines. The vaccine and the boosters did not prevent the transmission of the COVID. The Pfizer came out with a new, and I can't pronounce this, Comfidity, which was FDA approved, but for a long time it wasn't available. They were still issuing the Pfizer vaccine, and in fact the new one that I can't pronounce is the same formula as the old one. Quite frankly, the only winners that I can see in this catastrophe were the bottom lines of the pharmaceuticals and everyone who was in a position to gain from it. So going forward, what do? We know we have a problem, and that's what I think SB4 is about. And so I looked at the CD Health Department sites and governance. Indiana, along with nearly half of the states, currently has a decentralized structure of governance. Other states have either a centralized structure or a combination of the shared or mixed of the two. Okay, what does that mean? Centralized structure, local health units are primarily led by employees of the state. Decentralized, which Indiana is local health units are primarily led by employees of local governments. Here is the site, the Indiana government site on SB4. Adds members to the Executive Board of the Indiana Department of Health, the State Department, provides that the State Department may provide district or regional services to local health departments, requires each local board of health to establish a local public health services fund to receive state funding, provides a method of allocation of state funding to local boards of health subject to state appropriations, allows the State Department to issue guidance to local health departments. This is a 4-year buy-in. I'm sure you're more familiar with all this than I am. I've just burned my little eyes looking this all up. Counties that don't take part of this would not be able to get these funds, as far as I understand. There was a meeting I saw on video, a June 30th meeting. I'm not sure who it was. There were some representatives there, some of our, I don't know who they were. I had a name, but I didn't put it. And when I was watching it, they seemed to be finding it amusing that those who would decline this offer, or whatever, because it's not compulsory yet, that they would just be out of luck when they requested funding. So I thought, I turned it off. I was kind of upset. The source of our nation's success has been based upon small local governance. We've thrown a lot of money at big government, big banks. Can anybody say that bank out in California? And they've all failed us. I'm sorry. And here's a quote from Thomas Jefferson: "If we are to guard against ignorance and remain free, it is the responsibility of every American to be informed." So in conclusion, centralized healthcare would be putting our health in the control of the state that basically, honestly, it's controlled by the federal government. And the World Health Organization wants to control that. So the World Health Organization wants to control your health care, everybody on the planet. Here is their site, the World Health Organization, and under the World Health Organization, and on the sheet I have information how you can go in there and look up this information that I pulled out, and it's just small excerpts from this. Okay, so this is the International Health Regulations from their meeting that was like 3 days in February and March. Okay, here it is. COVID-19 showed us that having a good, strong set of international health regulations is essential, and showed where the current regulations need to be improved, said Dr. Bloomberg, former Director General of Health, New Zealand. Oh my goodness, New Zealand, what a record they had during the COVID. Not a good one, as far as I'm concerned. The ongoing pandemic was underscored the importance of countries working together collaboratively and supporting WHO in its vital work to make the world safer. The tone of the discussions and the progress made during this week's meeting clearly show that countries understand the responsibility they have to ensure this process is successful. Maybe a lot of people are on board for that. I'm not. Okay? And just a little thing on New Zealand, because my eyes popped out. New Zealand had lockdowns, arrests, riots, deportations. Infection rates from April 6th to 22 to August 1st of 2022 were the highest. And then all of a sudden, the next day, they dropped to zero. I don't understand that either, but that's what, and you can go on that site and see how they go up and down, up and down, up and down. New Zealand and Australia were islands. They had nothing to begin with. So they locked down people. They had a 90%, I think, vaccine rate, and yet they're still dealing with it. Africa, who couldn't afford the vaccine, They did better than everybody. What's that about? So anyway, and just my heart goes out to everybody. This is not an easy problem to solve, and my mouth is getting dry. I can't talk anymore. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And earlier this week, the House heard Senate Bill 4 and some testimony from that. I did submit some testimony on behalf of myself as the county commissioner here. I posted that the letter that I sent to those representatives on my social media sites, as well as sent a copy of that to the media. Yeah. So I think that's a good resource to focus in on. You know, Indiana's a home rule state, and it's important that the state respect our home rule rights here. And as others have said, the easiest accountability is the closer you get to the people, the closer it is. And here tonight, everybody here has a chance to speak. Whereas, for example, down in Indianapolis, you have to get approved to speak, and you've got to be part of a small list that gets to speak. And it's not. There's much greater accountability at the local level, and I think that's where the ultimate power should stay with our local health department and with our elected officials here, where we can look you in the face when we make these decisions, and you can talk right back to us. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Certainly. Is there anyone else for public comment?
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Rick Kentaff, 324 Box Street, LaPorte, Indiana. At your last meeting, I believe you approved a contract from a company called Integris Search LLC. As I look over the contract from them, I find it very disturbing that you approved a contract for $17,000 for a search for the new HR director, when we have elected, the taxpayers have elected 3 county commissioners, 7 county council members to do the job to run this county. And because it's turned into basically a political hot potato for the current HR director, who's been doing the job for quite some time with an interim title in front of her name, because no one wants to step up out of our elected officials, we're going to spend $17,000 of taxpayers' money to do the job that our elected officials should be doing. I think there's a couple different options here. You've got a person who's been doing this job for a while. Why don't you just give her the job? And if she can't do it, then follow your disciplinary guidelines and take care of the problem. And since none of the 10 people that have been elected to run this county are willing to step up and do the right thing, why don't you appoint maybe a civilian advisory board that will have the guts to do the job that none of the 10 elected officials here are willing to do? Because this $17,000 is a waste of taxpayers' money, because we've elected 10 people and put confidence in 10 people to run this county. And obviously, the 10 people that are running the county are afraid to do the job that we've elected 10 people to do. We have people that have master's degrees in business. We have former sheriffs. We have former fire chiefs. We have business people. We have teachers with master's degrees. And if they can't go through resumes and applications and pick a qualified applicant, what are they doing holding these positions? You're all being paid to do this job, and yet none of you will step up and do what you're being paid to do and what you were elected to do. To spend $17,000 of taxpayers' money and give it to a search firm out of South Bend, which I hope has no connections to anyone else out of South Bend, I have a real problem with that. And I've spoken to many other people out in the community about this, and they have problems with it too. So I think there should be, and I will be at the county council meeting on the 28th to address this also with them. I think it's time for the people that we've elected to do the job that we've elected them to do, and not keep giving contracts out to other people, especially in the form of $17,000. And it clearly states right here that they're going to go through resumes and applications. I don't see why you guys can't do that. I don't understand why you can't do it. But I know it's a political hot potato because someone doesn't want to give a person that's in the position the job, and they're afraid someone's going to bring race into it. But that's not what this is about. This is about hiring the most qualified person. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with putting the most qualified person in the position. Obviously, there's a person there that's been doing it for a year. Why don't you just take away the interim title, give that person a job? If they mess up, then do what you have to do with the disciplinary program that you have in place and take care of the business that way. But this is getting ridiculous. Like this gentleman said, Mr. Hollifield said, why are we going to pay someone $90,000 to $100,000 for this position when no one else around this state's getting paid that much? I think it's time for the people that we elected, especially the 10 people that are running this county, the 3 commissioners, and the 7 council members, to do what they're elected to do. And don't spend this $17,000 of taxpayers' money for them to look through resumes and applications when that's the job that you people were elected to do.
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, I would like to correct Mr. Kentaff on that. When he said of the 10 people that nobody's doing anything, I want to correct the record that I have supported Ms. Thomas from the beginning. I'm the one who said that she should have the job. She does have the job. She should keep the job. So don't say that none of us said anything about that, because I have supported.
You know, Rich,
from the beginning.
we can't put out
Mr.
the
You are
dirty
correct.
laundry of what has been going on in HR.
Well, I apologize, Mr. Brzezinski. You are correct. I did speak falsely there. You did support that at the last meeting. So I will say 9 out of the 10 people elected. So I do apologize, Mr. Brzezinski. I'll retract that. Thank you.
Can we talk about some of the HR issues that we have?
No. We have a very clear policy for commission meetings. I believe there's copies of it that have been circulated. It is completely inappropriate for anyone, either commissioners or members of the public, to be speaking about specific county personnel in what is transpiring. It exposes the county to legal liability to do so.
Correct. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak? Anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak? And we see a hand up there. It looks like Mr. McCormick.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, I'd just like to say something in regards to the stuff going around about COVID. I feel that at some point we need to quit pretending, trying to use this as a weapon to go after certain parties or certain individuals. Unfortunately, within a 6 months period of time, I lost both of my sisters to COVID. I was pretty sick with COVID as well. One of my sisters was vaccinated and boosted, and the other one wasn't. It's a choice that we make in America. I thank God that we do have the choice to go get vaccinated. And I thank God that we have the choice not to go get vaccinated if we don't want to. And I'm just going to leave that at right there. Where I'm just leave that right there. I'm on here to talk about also, when are we going to be able to see voting centers in Michigan City or throughout the whole county? Every election, we have been promised that they're going to get voting out of Michigan City area schools. There's no accountability. Ron Mayer, when he was the mayor, if you guys are not aware of it, Democratic Ron had German Shepherds, dogs at the polling place. He had police cars at the polling place, only in the black communities. We continue to pretend like this stuff did not happen. That was just recently. That wasn't like 20, 60 years ago. We're just talking about maybe 8 years ago, 6 years ago, this took place. Fellow commissioners, I hope that you really start laying into working with the Board of Elections. and hoping that we get a chance to see these voting centers actually come to life, fruition. It needs to happen as sooner than later. I just find it just disturbing. And I want to say something about Mr. Kentaff, what he said. I'm with him. It doesn't take the county to spend $17,000 of the taxpayers' dollars. If you don't like Monique, for whatever reason it is, it's already out. The elephant's out in the room. It's basically she's being there's certain things that's been said that she done wrong or whatever, but it seems like it's coming down to race. I hope that's not true.
You have to speak loud.
But
Mr. McCormick, I think as our attorney said earlier, we shouldn't be talking about individual employees, please.
yeah, well,
I apologize for not saying something about that earlier.
You guys have a policy. You are elected officials. You cannot talk about employees. I'm just here just pointing out about the $17,000 that has been spent. If this is not the person we want, just say no and move on from it and just bring in somebody else. But to spend more money to say no, what sense does that make?
Sure. So the contract, generally speaking, this isn't a Q&A session, but the contract, it would only be if they bring us a qualified candidate that we find acceptable. If they don't bring us anyone that we find acceptable, then there'll be no payments made.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Now, I understand. I'm not looking for a response. Mm-hmm. I'm just making a comment on how I feel as a citizen. You guys have legitimate reasons to do what you're doing. Just do it. But just keep the team to spend more money. I can use that $17,000 over at the Martin Luther King Center or at the Hope Building over here in Michigan City. We got good ways to use that $17,000. And an easier way to say no. It's free to say no. We're not going to hire you. It's free. But now you're putting $17,000 on it, and it just doesn't set well with me. But on another note, the time has come for elections in Michigan City. We're having a hard time over here in Michigan City, and I'm asking for all the citizens, Republicans, Independents, Democrats. We need help in Michigan City. For years, I've been coming over to the county, hoping getting people elected over there in the county. I'm going to continue to do that, but now we need your help over here in Michigan City. As you guys know, Michigan City is stubborn. We continue to vote straight Democratic ticket, and Michigan City look like crap. Crime rate is high. Our streets look the same, and it's been under Democratic rule for 50, 60 years. All I'm asking for anybody that's listening to me right now, if you want to run, go to the Republicans, get a permission. If you want to run as an independent, join me. If you want to run as a libertarian, join us. I'm looking for people that I can help push and put a ticket together, my brick, that will help us in Michigan City become better. Because right now we are in bad shape. We need somebody to run for the 5th Ward of Michigan City. We have other positions, the 3rd Ward. We have a lot of positions in Michigan City that we need to straighten out. We need your help. We need the county. You have friends, you have family in Michigan City. We need your help. I'm running for the 1st Ward. We need help. And if you really want to change, please reach out to me on Facebook or come to my house, 617 Union Street, and I will help do anything I can to help get you in the office. We need to change the mindset that's been going on for years in Michigan City. Crime is too high. The Democratic Party has failed us. And now we are being ran by the nasty women of LaPorte County. That's all I want to say. If you can help us, please reach out. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope I didn't offend anyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Anyone else on Zoom who wishes to speak? Mr. Veach? Mr. Veach?
Yes, this is Randall Veach, 4177 West Schultz Road. I take it I'm being heard?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to publicly thank the commissioners for following through with the commitment of trying to stop the business operations from continuing in our residential neighborhood. I hope your commitments will continue in the future. It has been a long time in coming. We have finally found a court willing to address this matter. They heard the matter today, and they did give D&M Excavating the opportunity to refrain from doing any hauling until this does see itself in front of the courts, which is great news for our neighborhood and for the county as a whole. And I just wanted to publicly thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veach. Appreciate that. Looks like we have one more, Mr. Borton. Gerald Borton, please go ahead. It appears Mr. Borton may be having technical difficulties. Was there anyone else for public comment? Anyone else on Zoom? Mr. Borton, one last time. Can you hear us, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Please go ahead.
There you go. Okay. The Rolling Prairie EMS base. I think it was very nice to see the article in the paper about it being open, but I think it was very wrong for former Commissioner Matias and Commissioner Mrzinski not to even be thanked for it, because it was their work that got it started. And another thing about Michigan City's doing great under Democrat leadership. It's Ronnie McCormick it's causing the problems over here. He's going to the Minister Alliance, calling them corrupt and everything else, and we're getting fed up with it. He don't own Michigan City, the taxpayers do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
I live at 617 Union Street.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. Anyone else for public comment? All right, very good. Hearing and seeing no one else for public comment is now closed. We'll consider approval of the March 1st, 2023 minutes.
So moved.
A motion to approve the...
Motion to approve the minutes.
Very good.
Yeah, I'll second the motion to approve the minute.
All right, and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Roll call, please, sir.
Commissioner Mrzinski.
Here.
Commissioner, Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
3 ayes.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Department head comments, please. Any... Mr. Specky, good evening.
Good evening, Jeremy Sebecki from the Parks Department. I just wanted to let you know of some updates on our staffing. We've had quite a bit of turnover. We lost our chief naturalist. We're going to be losing our recreation and ed programmer. So both of our full-time programming staff are going to be gone, and we've already replaced the chief naturalist, and we have somebody lined up to take the other position. So those of you who are looking for programming coming up really soon, give us a little while. It's going to be a little while before we can get our feet under us there, but we will have our programming starting back up real soon. Seasonally, we're going to be looking for those seasonal laborers. We're going to need probably three more of those. So that job is posted. We don't look for those to start until May, June time, but or late May probably. So get your applications in, and hopefully we can get those filled. Most of our other positions are filled though, so we're looking pretty good. Do have when I first came here 8 years ago, the person with the shortest time in was 8 years. So now we're to the point where I'm the second longest there as far as a full-time employee with 8 years. So we've had a lot of turnover. They were there for 20, 29 years, lots of years of service. So, but we do have a lot of really skilled staff that we were able to get, luckily. And everybody wants to work for parks, right? So we're doing pretty good. So just want to let you know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Right. Do we have any other department heads?
Heather Stevens, LaPorte County Clerk. I just want to say thank you. The courthouse looks better than I've ever seen it, so I'm super excited. Sean Fitzpatrick and his team, it's cleaner, it's brighter, it's more inviting. It's kind of brought back that feel of respect and authority, and it looks great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other department heads?
If there's no other department heads there, I would like to make a comment.
Please go ahead.
To give credit where credit is actually due. Back in 2007, my first year on the county council, Rip Ludlow, who was the head of EMS at the time, came to me and said, something you need to think about. We need an EMS base on the east side of the county somewhere. We looked at places in Rolling Prairie. We looked at places for the 3 schools. We looked at a lot of places. When we finally looked at the Soft Trail Rest area, which was property of the state of Indiana, it was Attorney Friedman who negotiated with the state and got them to actually donate that land. So now we've got the land, now we're getting ready to start it. So what we did was the committee that we had on the Michigan City Courthouse, which was Larry Lewandowski, Randy Novak, Joey Winsky, Darlene Hale, and myself, we met every week and looked at everything going on to bring that project in under budget and on time. So when we started the project at Rolling Prairie for the ambulance base and the highway garage, we took that same committee, Larry Lewandowski, Randy Novak, Joey Winsky, Darlene Hale, and myself. We added Caitlin Sims. And again, we met every week, every other week. Every time there was a supply chain problem, when we had issues getting AEP to hook up the electric, and so many different little problems that came along. But our team on the ground, Mike Pavey did an amazing job. I would call him our lead there every day. Larry Lewandowski he managed the whole project. He knew everything that was going on. It was usually there like sometimes 7 o'clock in the morning. Jay Sullivan did a super job of drawing up the plan. Dwayne Werner was there, boots on the ground for the highway department. Same with Andy McGuire being there for EMS. We had such great cooperation with Marquis Electric, with New Tech, John Carr and the building trades folks. Everybody really pulled together to get that done. And again, just our little team in the county that came together, worked together, overcame so many different things. And I just wanted to point out that we really, is a well-oiled machine, except that in the end, when we lost Larry Lewandowski and Dwayne Werner, who you guys fired, and then when I saw
Commissioner Merzinski, we don't discuss personnel issues, and you know no one was fired. Please don't discuss personnel issues in public.
Okay, well, let's just talk about the newspaper. Well, you tried to take credit for doing all the stuff out there, but you were never at one meeting, not one. So, okay, I just want to set the story straight. But people call me.
Mr. Merzinski, I'd like to also add Sean Fitzpatrick and myself and Joe Haney for finishing this project. When I came into office, the project was not done. And through large discussions between me and Mr. Haney, and along with our new director, Sean Fitzpatrick, we were able to get that building done. If you remember, I mean, you want to go back years, in 2018, we had a site selection for the EMS in LaPorte, and it was on the south side of Lincoln Way in a neighborhood. And it was through my hard work and efforts with the community and the hospital to come up with a new site location. What we do as public servants, we do it because we're doing it in not for credit, but to get the best locations and to finish these buildings to service the public. We are here not to beat our chest or pat ourselves on the back, but we all play an important role in making sure that these projects are done whenever they start. And I mean, there are so many people that if you'd like to go back that we missed, like Barb Houston and Rip Ludlow. I mean, that's the whole thing about not bringing up these issues and talking about like who did what. You know, we've had Alan Stevens out there helping us with the highway building, and you know, when you just start naming people, it brings the attention back to the elected officials when it should be about doing the right thing for the public. And I think that the public realizes that we're here for them and to make sure that every building that we build is going to service everybody out in that community. And I with that being said, I would just like to take this moment to thank everybody who has partaken in helping us getting these buildings, whether it was in the past up into the future that we opened up that door and we had the first ambulance roll out of there. From the ambulance people that are out there and helping us and saving lives every single day, I say thank you. And I think that all elected officials, whether they are on the commission, on the council, past and present, we just want to say thank you to all the workers. And we just hope that this really does help save lives, shortens the time of getting people to the hospital. Appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grammarosa. Very well said. Thank you. Are there any other department heads who wish to speak? All right, hearing none, we will move on to one item to touch on, just for clarification for the public record. The Counseling Commission has held joint sessions over these past roughly 12 months in our search for a HR director. In total, our committee, including myself, has interviewed multiple people, and it was determined in a public meeting, public session, roughly a month ago, between the Council and Commission, a joint session that was unanimously voted on to proceed with the route to try and find a recruiter to help us find someone, because after a year we had failed after multiple interviews and other things to go down to be able to find a new selection and find one. So that was, at the time, it was a unanimous vote, bipartisan unanimous vote between the entire assembled Council and Commission at that meeting. So thank you. All right, next we will move on to requests. We have actually, if it's all right, we'll just take the request for polling locations and put with the other items that Clerk Stevens has, if that's okay, if nobody will object to that. And then the other item we added on here was consider the prosecutor's requests for documents and emails. I think we're all aware of what that request is about.
Yeah, sure. And I can provide a little bit of background. The prosecutor has made what has been construed as an Access to Public Records Act request under Indiana law of the commission to have access to certain emails from 5 previous employees of the LaPorte County Prosecutor's Office for the calendar year 2022. Typically, APRA requests are handled by me as the county attorney, but given the political nature of this, I've deferred to the commission on this, and as such, as the commission will be deciding this issue, it needs to happen at a public meeting with a public vote. One thing that makes this a little bit unusual or a little bit specific is if a body wishes to deny an Access to Public Records Act request, the party that is doing that, or the council or commission that's doing that, has to state a legally justifiable reason for that. And those kind of reasons can include things like the rationale, or the request was not specific enough. It wasn't narrowly tailored enough. It's not reasonably specific, etc. So all I would ask as your legal counsel is if you wish to deny this Access to Public Records Act request, that each commissioner voting to deny it states the reason why they are denying it, because that has to be provided as part of the law. And if a body chooses to deny an Access to Public Records Act request. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start out. When Mr. Fagan came to me, Mr. Fagan asked for, he said that he didn't have the ability to know what were open cases. He actually stated a judge had called him and said that he missed a court case because he was unaware that that case was happening. I had talked to him and explained to him that he could get the open cases from mycase.gov, and he did not look for the cases. Later on, he changed his request from looking from open cases. He wanted 3 employees of the previous prosecutor, along with all their emails from 2022, from January all the way to December. Then he changed his request to 5 employees, all emails, which would have been thousands of emails. I have a problem with that. I serve on the data board, and I actually put a statement together for myself. In January, Mr. Fagan demanded a year's worth of emails regarding Prosecutor John Lake, his chief staff Mary Lake, and 3 other prosecuting attorneys, supposedly claiming he needed information about pertaining pending cases. Even though he's a state official and all emails are on our county servers, the county data board met and we asked him for specific cases. He wouldn't tell us which cases he wanted. I then went through mycase.gov and I found him 44 open cases. I offered to help him get whatever emails he needed from those 44 open cases. Now, when I myself wouldn't give him a carte blanche 1 year, 5 employees' emails, he threatened me with obstruction of justice. In the meantime, I'm working on a flood project, and there are hundreds of cases downstairs that we're holding from him, from his floor, and he has yet to come down and meet with me and open up those boxes and see what's inside those boxes for cases. So with that being said, I'm not quite sure what it is that he's looking for, but I have a hard time believing that he is looking for open cases. So my opinion, I deny it. Let him take us to court and let him figure out, have a judge come in and have a judge tell us that we have to release those emails.
Can I ask for a point of clarification, Commissioner? Are you voting to deny this because you believe the request is overly broad and not reasonably particular?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rosinski. Oh, I'm sorry.
And quite frankly, he's changed his story a couple times.
I understand.
I like the way you stated that, attorney. I had a similar situation with our prosecutor when he called me, and I'm just trying to wrap these cases up. There's is information that I don't have, and I need to fill in the blanks here on a couple of cases. And I told him, hey, I'm okay with that. I'm good. If that's what you need information on a specific case, specific person, specific email, I agree with you. You need that. But then, as Connie said, the story changed. He wants a year's worth of emails for 5 people. Now, that doesn't sound very specific to me. What I said, and I'll say it again, it sounds to me like a witch hunt, especially given the political ramifications of what's happened in his office with some of the people that he wants to have emails on. And I've talked to him since. He even sent another lawyer to talk to me, and I told him all the same thing. Don't lie to me. Don't jerk me around. Tell me what you want. Tell me specifically what you want. As Connie said, if there's specific email for a specific case, do you need to fill in the blank? I agree. We should have it. But you're going on a witch hunt for a year's worth of emails for 5 employees, some of which don't work there anymore, thanks to them. Okay, then I'm not going that way. I'm not going to be involved in the middle of that. I know at the advice of our attorney today, he suggested that we should probably go along with that. But I have to disagree. I disagree with it. And you know me, normally I agree with our attorney, but I'm going to have to disagree with this one. I'm going to have to agree with Commissioner Grammarosa. It's a witch hunt. And until the prosecutor either sue us to get what you want or come out and tell us what we've asked of you. What specifically are you looking for? What email for what person for what case? Not a witch hunt of a whole year's worth for 5 people. So I'm going to agree with Commissioner Grammarosa. I'm not going to vote to allow that. I'm not going to be stuck in the middle of a witch hunt.
Okay. So Commissioner Mrzinski, obviously I respect your position, and I'm going to ask the same question that I asked Commissioner Grammarosa, which is, are you voting to deny the request because you believe it's overly broad and not reasonably particular?
That sounds like a very good, as well as stated.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Thank you. So for myself, I've kind of taken a look at this as it's developed, as the emails have come across. One of the very initial request, I believe, that came through from the prosecutor was for the last quarter's emails, which would have been, I believe it was either last quarter or last 2 months. It was either the last 2 or 3 months of 2022 for those employees. Because he was following the case that was missed. Because and for the public's edification, the issue here, it's not us here at the commission or even Prosecutor Fagan. It's that when former Prosecutor Lake left, apparently he didn't do any transition work. So there was cases that were assigned to that he was handling himself without any other staff members knowing, and he didn't pass as it seems, and as it seems to have bared out since, including with that missed court case, that when Prosecutor Lake left, he just never told anybody he had different outstanding cases or cases that are presented to him that he ever forwarded on to anyone else in the prosecutor's office. So that's why there's some of these issues. So my general understanding of it is that when his request went from the original was either 2 or 3 months to now the year for 2022, that was when he started discovering other things that came up that he just didn't come up with. So rather than let myself talk about that, I'll talk about this latest letter that came in from Luke Britt, the public access counselor. So this in here, he's going to talk about this issue has already been before the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's office issued an opinion that this is the state's data and that LaPorte County is merely the custodian. So you could liken it to the documents. Let's say the prosecutor writes something down on a piece of paper that he has in the office. LaPorte County is required by law to provide that paper and the pens to the prosecutor's office. If the prosecutor uses LaPorte County's pen and LaPorte County's paper and writes something down on it, that's still LaPorte County, the prosecutor's office, the state's document. That's the state's work product. It's because you take that work product or work documents and hold them electronically is no different here, in my opinion. And as we'll go through this, the Attorney General's office and some other offices as well. So this is from LaPorte, giving a position statement in regard to this matter. He goes around some of the issues he suspects. So I'll just quote this here. You, and he's referring to Prosecutor Fagan, suspect that there may be materials from the prior year's tranche of communications that are germane to pending cases you inherited when you took office at the beginning of the year. To that end, you are seeking access to the prior year's emails from several accounts during your predecessor's tenure. He says typically, and I'll just digress for a moment, I would agree if this was a county issue with county data and let's say, be it, a treasurer's office, auditor's office, something else, I as well wind up taking a different position than I'm going to wind up coming down to at the end of this letter. But this is, again, I would agree with the state here that this is the state's data and we're merely the custodians. So he says typically public access requests for emails are to be accompanied by specific search parameters which lead to a level of specificity or reasonable particularity, giving the agency a starting point for a search. This situation, however, is unique and is not completely a public access issue, but rather a matter of governance. Indiana Code section, I'll read all of this off here, requires the following about public officials who have custody of the records, et cetera, et cetera. He quotes that section, and then he goes on in the next paragraph to say, therefore, by operation of law, those materials are now in your custody as the current office holder. Complicating matters, however, is the structure of LaPorte County's information technology bureaucracy. If those critical records are not transferred to your custody, they seemingly are under the stewardship of the county's executive branch. The county executive branch is not necessarily in a position to sift through all those records to provide materials pursuant to a public records request. And simply put, you might not even know where the records are. You may not even know what records are critical until you review them. I think it's an important point. And I'll just say that last line to emphasize it here. He says, quote, you might not even know what records are critical until you review them. I think that's a crucial point here. Therefore, this situation requires more than just a blunt application of traditional public access rules. Toward that end, this office solicited the guidance of the Indiana Prosecuting Attorney's Council, the Indiana Attorney General's Office, and the Indiana Archives and Records Administration. 201, those authorities recommend that you have access to your predecessor's emails. This office follows. Based on the information provided, it is my official recommendation that you have access to those emails from 2022. And that is the official opinion of the Indiana Public Access Counselor. And as he says there, it is also the opinion of the Indiana Prosecuting Attorney's Council, the Indiana Attorney General's Office, as well as the Indiana Archives and Records Administration. It would be my position that I would support turning these records over based on the opinion of those four different agencies, that we would turn these records over to the prosecutor's office as soon as possible, as it is their records and they are the rightful owners of them.
I would just like to add one point without expressing an opinion, which I've done, in private, to the commission, that should the public access counselor find that we have violated the Access to Public Records Act, the commission can be sued, it can be sanctioned, and can be forced to pay for Mr. Fagan's attorney's fees related to prosecuting this matter. So I would not be doing my due diligence as an attorney without informing the commission that if ultimately a court decides that Mr. Fagan was correct, that the county can be subjected to some pretty harsh or stiff financial penalties. But I'm only saying that because I have a duty to you and an obligation to you to inform you what the consequences of this can be.
So let me ask you, Mr.
Yes.
With the hundreds of files that have been abandoned by him since December 25th, and I mean hundreds, are those not crucial records? Is there not valuable information in those records that he could perhaps use? And I'd probably even say it's more like hundreds of banker boxes loaded with hundreds of cases in there, so there might be thousands of documents down there that he has abandoned since he took office January 1st. And so when we talk about crucial records that are out there, are those records not crucial?
So
Wouldn't it be important for him to go through those records and find out what he can find through those boxes instead of trying to get emails from 5 employees, and as the story changes and it evolves and we're going from 3 employees to 5 employees, from 2 months to 1 year. In the meantime, he's threatened an elected official, he's threatened another county employee. Where does it stop? I don't even want to talk about the chatter that's out there, because I mean, there's some chatter out there that is very disturbing, and if it does come to fruition, we will be talking about it at the next commissioners meeting.
And I respect you tremendously, and I respect your position, and I respect your position, Commissioner Mrzinski, as well, and I respect your concerns as well. Without complicating this or restating what I've already said, the opinion of the public access counselor, the attorney general, all of these.
The attorney general, the attorney general's office.
I'm sorry, you are correct. Yes, the advisory opinion. I should be clear that I don't have any dog in this. I'm only here to protect the county. So if these organizations said something different, I would be here to honestly report it to you. The position that they have taken, according to what Mr. Britt has provided us, is that it's not just 5 employees for 2022. It's every single email sent by every single person in that prosecutor's office since it was created. Just like the boxes in the basement that we're talking about, those belong to the prosecutor's office. So do the emails. That is the position that these organizations have taken. It's a state agency. We're in a weird position because we're the custodians of the records. But just like the banker box in the basement from 1997 or 2005 belongs to the prosecutor's office, so do the emails. Not just for 5, but for all of those people. That is the position that I believe is being expounded by Mr. Britt's letter. And if a court agrees with that, and I can't predict what a specific judge, we don't know which judge this would even be in front of. But if a court agrees with that, if there's first a finding by the public access counselor that we violated the Access to Public Records Act, and then there is a lawsuit and a judge finds against us, the county is going to be subjected to what I think will be stiff financial consequences, and it's my obligation to inform you of that. That's all.
Thanks for your opinion.
And thank you very much for listening, or at least hearing me out. I appreciate that very much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jones. So again, just for the public's edification, this is unfortunate that we're even having to be in this position. We were left here, and as far as I'm concerned, in addition to what we've heard, from Luke Britt and those other state agencies, it's a public safety issue. And I would hate to see this get drug out, but
I will say too, Todd Rokita, they said to us at first that Todd Rokita had said we had to turn over the records. And when I asked for a letter directly from Todd Rokita, he backed it up and said it wasn't Todd Rokita, it was Todd Rokita's office. So that would be like me as a commissioner saying, you know what, I won't give permission, but talk to my staff in my office. We'll have the secretary make the decision for me. I mean, that's pretty much what happened with Todd Rokita's. And then when I talked to Mr. Fagan said it would not be appropriate for Todd Rokita to put it in writing and send that to us. So if the Attorney General, who is elected, feels that it's not appropriate for him to send a letter and tell us this, and we have an access counselor telling us, yes, it's okay, there's so much back and forth that I'm very uncomfortable with it.
Sure.
I totally understand that, because there is a difference certainly between Todd Rokita and his office. I can say that in this case, the Attorney General is asked, his office is asked for what are called advisory opinions on all kinds of things all the time, and they're actually available on the Attorney General's website. Those are issued by, typically someone in his office that's dedicated to researching issues. Here, this issue was presented to the Attorney General's office, and the office issued an advisory opinion stating that these emails should be turned over.
And I don't have so we did receive an email from the Attorney General's office from this. I do not remember the individual's name, but that person he or she, I don't remember the name, signed it as a section chief or chief of section, section chief. So it was the head of whatever section handles this, and I'm not sure of all the internal workings of the Attorney General's office, but it was the head of whatever section that was. So. I think at this point we need an actual motion. Correct.
That is correct, Mr. Commissioner. Yes.
All right. So whatever the board would want to make the motion to either deny or approve the request, I think it would be appropriate to go on record officially at this point with an official vote for whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Well, I think we've already voted, right? 2-1.
We gave our positions, but we didn't actually vote.
Yeah, you need to actually vote.
So road call.
Okay.
A
formal motion that we deny the prosecutor's request as it is for all the emails that he's requesting. That I'd make a motion that we deny that request.
Well, I'd like you to add the fact that if he has indeed, like he had asked at the beginning, open cases, because I would not deny him all the records. If he has these 44 open cases, or he has other open cases that he needs emails on, I will gladly give him specific emails that he needs. So would you be willing to add that?
Yeah, I would make that part of the motion. If he will, tell us specifically what emails you want, from who, for what cases. I would certainly, as I've stated all along, I would certainly not stay in the way of that. I would go along with that. But
So the request from the prosecutor's office and what we've seen from the public access counselor, and we all received an email from the public access counselor on our alleged violation. We're going to have to give that either a straight up or down vote based upon what Luke Britt sent over to make sure that we're in compliance with open door laws.
So I hate to interrupt when there's a motion and there hasn't been a second, though. I can tell you what the process is going to be from here on out. There is a straightforward request made by the prosecutor. He wants the 5 employees, well, former prosecutor and 4 employees for the calendar year 2022. The commission needs to vote on that. I believe Commissioner...
His request.
So his request, it's contained in the actual document that was sent over yesterday or the day before, along with a complaint. So his actual request, I can read it to you verbatim. It is, I have done this previously, but I am making a renewed formal request for the emails/email accounts for the following employees of my office for the 2022 calendar year. Those employees: John Lake, Mary Lake, Bethany Beckham, Elizabeth Boehm, and Anthony McClintock. Please reply by email as to whether or not this request is approved or denied. So for it to be formally denied by the commission, there has to be a vote on that request. It sounds like there are other requests that he could make that you would be amenable to, and I will certainly convey that message back to the prosecutor. But as far as his request, it either has to be approved by the commission or denied, and if it's denied, the reason for the denial must be stated. I've asked two of the three commissioners whether their denial is because they believe the request is overly broad and not reasonably particular. And you two said yes. So I will be informing Prosecutor Fagan, assuming that is your vote, I will be informing Prosecutor Fagan that his request has been denied because it was overly broad and not reasonably particular.
Commissioner Merzinski, could you take back your motion? Because I'd like to take a motion to table this because Mr. Fagan, obviously, there's over thousands of files downstairs that he has not came out to secure. And the idea that he has not came here to ask us formally at this commissioners meeting, perhaps we need to table this until he can come and then we can have that discussion with him.
Very good point. Very well put. I will remove my motion.
So for a point,
second your motion to table if that was your motion.
I'll second.
So for point of order here, we're outside of the deadline to provide these records. We're going to be found, I don't know if in contempt is the right word, but
Obstruction of justice. That's what he told me over the phone.
Yeah. So I want to avoid the county from being sued. So what I would suggest is if you don't want the records to be turned over, you vote to not turn them over. If he wants to come back and ask for them again, that's a new request. That is a new request by him. But as of right now, we have not turned the records over. That is a denial, and we haven't had an articulated reason by the commission as to why it's being denied in a public meeting. So if we want to follow the open door law statutes, and we don't want to turn these records over right now, there needs to be a vote on whether to approve the APRA request, and if there's going to be a denial, there has to be a reason why. He always has the ability to bring this issue back up, or anybody has the ability to bring this issue back up at any time.
So this was not on our agenda, and we kindly put it on our agenda. We have a motion to table with a second, and I think that we should take a vote on that.
Okay. It was put on the agenda because the public access counselor is calling this a violation of the open door law to not have a public vote on whether or not to approve or deny the APRA request. I believe if the commission does not vote on whether to approve or deny the APRA request, we could be found in violation of the open door law.
I would concur with that legal opinion based upon everything that I have seen, and that is something that I don't think the commission wants to have happen. I really don't.
But we have a motion to table with a second, and we also, as stated by our attorney, what our reasoning was as to why they're not going to approve it. I think we've covered our bases as far as I'm concerned.
Tabling is not the same as a denial. And I'm not trying to argue with anyone. I'm really just trying to stop the county from getting sued. I'm pleading with you. If you want to deny the request today and not turn them over, we can just vote on the denial. You can state the reasons why. And if he wants to come back and ask again, he can.
Yeah, it would continuing for further discussion here. It would be my best thought, especially based on advice from counsel, to whatever the pleasure of the board is, to either vote to deny or to approve, and then if you would like to make another motion to ask the prosecutor to come back with a more specific reason or something else, we could do that, and that would be fine as well if the vote is to deny. To come back and present a more specific thing and give some guidance to the prosecutor about what the board might be amenable to doing. But a looming by not providing it, we are by default by tabling, we're by default going to wind up being, but we would by default not provide them. That would be making a decision by default, which would be a violation of the open door law. And this request has been sat on now for well in excess of the timeline to actually be able to respond, as far as I'm concerned. So I think the ramifications of tabling this rather than voting it up or down can't be understated. I don't think any of us want to be, want any of us to be subject to that. That's
Again, it was not on our agenda.
We got the complaint yesterday.
We did get the complaint yesterday.
That's why I emailed it.
There's a motion and a second on the table.
Let's see. Well, hearing, just like to officially go on record that I do not want to see the county pay tens or potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages, but there's a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call, Mr. Auditor.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
A nay vote would be to
Not table.
not table. Yeah, nay.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
2 ayes, 1 nay. Matters tabled.
Carried. All right, next on the agenda, we have Jeremy Specky. Consider permission to go before the council to request monies from ARP for construction of restroom at Creek Ridge County Park.
Hi, thank you. So yeah, this is Creek Ridge is our only park, well, only of our 4 main parks that doesn't have a actual running water restrooms. They're all just the pit toilets, and this proposal would be to build a restroom that would service, take 2 of those pit toilets out of service and build a bigger restroom with running water, a new septic system, and most of this would be done in-house, just like the one out at Bloom was. If you've been out there and seen that restroom, how it turned out, that was all done by our staff. The total cost with the septic and everything would be right around $100,000. We have currently about $26,000 from last year from our non-reverting that was not spent, and I would like to put that towards that. So I'd be asking I would like to ask the council for about, not to exceed $74,000, just like the email that I sent you today was. So
I'd make a motion to approve the request. We should be very proud of the job that Jeremy's doing on our parks. They're awesome, and they're actually a destination for a lot of people. So I would approve that he goes to the council.
I second.
All right, very good. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Ms. Rodder.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
All right, thank you.
And go ahead.
All right. Next, we have a consider a contract for Forte.
There was one more. There was something.
Oh, yes, there is here. Yes, for your parking lot and trail sealing and repair.
Yeah, this was also on our initial ARP request. Quite a few miles of trail need, they have some damage from roots and other issues, just cracking that need sealing, and then also just sealing the black top. This would be at Red Mill, Creek Ridge, and Bloom, and then also the parking lots at those parks as well. Red Mill has been sealed mostly, but there are some crack issues, and then we had to have an area repaired, so we need some sealing and restriping on partial part of that. So that's a total of $39,000, $4,000 for Red Mill, $15,000 for Creek Ridge, and $20,000 for Bloom.
Motion to approve the request, go to council.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, roll call, please, Ms. Rodder.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, we're sorry for your loss, Mr. Specky.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have Treasurer Winsky. Consider contract for Forte new credit card company.
Right. Thank you.
Yes.
Our present credit card company or vendor does not give us any support, and it is not user-friendly. We've had multiple complaints over the past 2 years, and so, excuse me, we went looking for a new credit card vendor and found Forte. So far, the support has been phenomenal, and very, very user-friendly. So I would request that you approve our request for a new credit card vendor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Mr. Attorney, you've
I did. I reviewed this and it met my approval. Thank you, Treasurer.
Thank you.
all right. Without any further discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Merzinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Winsky. Next, we have Allen Stevens Highway Department. We'll consider bid recommendations for classes 11 through 17.
Good evening, Commissioners. Alan Stevens, Superintendent of LaPorte County Highway Department. Tonight, it would be my recommendation that we accept all of the bids submitted with precedence given to the lowest bidder. And the reason why we'd like to accept them all is in the event that the primary and lowest bidder can't deliver, we have a fallback. Excuse me.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, very good. Thank you. Not hearing any further discussion. All those in favor, roll call, please.
Commissioner Grammarosa,
Aye.
Commissioner Merzinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. Next, permission to approach the council for new equipment and pickup trucks not to exceed $1.3 million.
Motion to approve.
Aye. Or second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Stevens, I think I speak for all of us when I say we appreciate your diligence this year on jumping on all this stuff. We really do. Not hearing any further discussion. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Merzinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your indulgence with some of the equipment purchases, truck purchases, just to kind of get us back up to an even pace. It's my intention by budget hearings to have a 10-year capital equipment plan submitted to the commission and the council, so we can spread it out over a little longer period of time.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right. Next, we have consider a proposal from Marquis Electric in reference to our emergency sirens. I know this is something we've been trying to get done here for about 18 months. And and it's something that's critical, especially now as we're coming into the spring to, I feel, to move forward on this. I know you've spent a lot of time on this as well, Commissioner Grammarosa.
Yeah, so I've met with Marquis Electric and also with EMA, and it really is something long coming. When you go throughout the entire county, we have poles that are at different heights, and as population has changed, there might be a better place to put some of these sirens where we have a larger amount of subdivisions that have popped up throughout the county. So this would give us the ability, we have 52 in all sirens throughout the entire county, and this would give us the ability to send them out and make sure, kind of see where we are with these sirens. And I'm sure that Mr. Haney and Commissioner Haney and Commissioner Merzinski would agree that for the last few years we've been battling the fact that some of them were rusting out and we need some uniformity. So I would make a motion to approve this and send it down to the council.
I second your motion. You're correct. Living in northern Indiana with the weather the way it is, they're not going to last forever. And this has been a problem for years, at least for the 15, 16 years I've been involved. So, yeah, we need to get a handle on it. I'll second your motion.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Commissioner Grammarosa,
Aye.
Commissioner Merzinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. Next, Mr. John Jones for our proposal for aviation insurance policy.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commissioners. John Jones, Michigan Insurance. I'm here with Stacy Green, a member of my team on your account. As my email alluded to that I had sent to everyone, including Attorney Jones, renewal is May 12th for your aviation policy. Aviation policies are typically excluded in all commercial and business liability policy. So they, under FAA ruling, our aircraft and have to be in a commercial setting, flown by FAA certified pilots, which we have since we've first applied for this insurance policy. We're down $95.57 on the renewal from the previous year, and the new premium is at $5,597. There are 9 drones that are used by the Sheriff's Department, and 1 in the Office of EMA, for a total of 10 drones, and we have 3 certified pilots.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I reviewed the policy and found it appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Without any further discussion?
Commissioner Haney.
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
3 ayes.
John, if we get a corporate jet for travels, would we cover that also?
Yeah, we can add that, but I think the premium will be a little more.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Consider out-of-state travel to attend the 16th annual symposium in Iowa, May 22nd to 24th. Recorder Builder back.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Very good. We have a
I
motion.
wish you'd
and a
like to
second.
come up here and talk to us.
Safe travels. Mr. Auditor, roll call, please.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
3 ayes.
All right, thank you. Next, we have another request for travel from Steve Irick with our probation department, National Drug Court Institute training in Oklahoma.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Irick. All right. We have another request for travel here. We have a request for approval for road closures for the YMCA Tour de LaPorte event. Jessica Durham, the Director of Marketing and Events. She asked if she needed to be here tonight. I said she didn't have to be if she didn't want to. This is the same thing we do every year. I think everybody's
Done this
familiar with
every
it.
year for as far back as, oh man, way back when I was still at NIPSCO, I used to run it every year. I would make a motion to approve. It's a great event.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
All right, thank you. Next, we have consider Clerk Stevens. We have a consideration of the donation of a new wheelchair for our LaPorte courthouse. We have it. We have it in the back of the room here. I think we actually have to officially accept this as a gift.
Yeah, we've had some need over at the LaPorte courthouse. There was a pretty decent issue last year. An elderly couple that had to come in for something, and they needed help. So we were literally trying to, hold people up. And I think something as simple as, I think I spent $120 on that thing. It's really not, it's not super expensive, but I'd like it there to help. But I didn't want to take any liability for it, so I gave it to you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I think we have the insurance man in the back room.
I asked him to stay.
Well, very good. Well, we appreciate that. We have a motion to accept that donation of that.
Yeah, I would make the motion to approve, but I would like to ask Mr. Jones, do we assume any sort of liability on that at all? I mean, if it's a new chair and it works the way it's supposed to?
There's liability in everything that you do. but
Thanks,
there is broad and comprehensive coverage in place, so we're fine.
Okay, a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, Mr. Auditor.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa.
Aye.
3 ayes.
All right. Very good. All right. Thank you again, Clerk Stevens. We've got 1 or 2 more items here for you. So next is consider the contract with State Street Church for polling location.
Yes. As we started calling our polling locations to to verify that we were coming back for this spring, the PRCU had stated that they will no longer be a polling location. So it was, oh no, which there's always an oh no in every election, at least one. So we didn't freak out. I actually contacted, I got on Beacon to see, okay, what else is nearby, what's within the parameters that we can go. And Nate Laux happened to have a couple of buildings, and so I contacted Nate, and Commissioner Grammarosa and Darlene Hale and I met with Nate at the facility. He's offered it up, I believe, for $1. And not only is he allowing us to use that on primary election day, but he's also, because of the flood, we would normally vote right here for early voting, and he's offered that location up for early voting for this area as well. So
He actually offered it up for free, but to have an enforceable lease, there has to be some form of payment. So, yeah,
$1 it is.
yeah,
Yep.
so I appreciate Nate. That was very kind.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve that. Mr. Rodder, roll call, please.
Commissioner Grammarosa,
Aye.
Commissioner Brzezinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Right, very good. And I believe you got one more item that we added on.
I think we have a couple things here. I just want to make sure all of my I's are dotted, my T's are crossed. So the lease is good. We have the primary election polling locations for May 2nd. Basically, nothing has changed other than the PRCU, and those voters will be notified. That will move to the State Street location, which is believe it's 209 State Street. Can't find it. Yeah, 209 State Street. And so those two precincts will be LP 25 and LP 26, who will need to vote there on May 2nd. They can still use the early voting at any location, but for primary election day, we're still bound. We're still a precinct-based voting county. And I did hear Mr. McCormick, and I just want to briefly touch on that if you don't mind.
Well, please go ahead.
But we are pushing to vote centers. We're getting there. And as I've stated at an election board meeting, we could have rushed this. The deadline to get everything done was March 2nd. I could have pushed, I could have rushed, and I would have made mistakes. This is a big county. We're gonna get it done, but I want it done right. So we're so close. We're very close. We will be there for the general. And the last thing I have is when we do vote at the schools in Michigan City, they do have a small little, it's a rental application. And I did give a copy of that to the county attorney as well.
Yep.
I reviewed it and found it to be appropriate.
Okay,
Motion to approve the voting location.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the voting locations, and I would assume that would be the contract that goes along with it for Michigan City Schools. That would need to be included in there if that's amenable to both of you.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, very good. Not hearing any further discussion. Mr. Auditor, please.
Commissioner Brzezinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Grammarosa,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
3 ayes.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Stevens. I believe you have something else?
Yeah, so I wanted to add one thing, and I didn't realize how close, because we're only at the 15th of the month, but we don't have another commissioners meeting this month. So one of the things I just wanted to put out there was family advocates. In April, they celebrate, or we acknowledge Child Abuse Prevention Month. And it's really important that we acknowledge it, and we have in the past. We put blue lights out on the lawn. Family Advocate does a parade through town. There are a lot of people joining in on that, and I'd just like to thank Miss Dermody and her whole team. And they put ribbons out, and I think that sometimes they come over here and they may even decorate our room here with the blue ribbons to acknowledge child abuse. So just when you see the blue coming out at April 1st and out throughout the whole month, you know that we're just acknowledging that child abuse does happen, and we have to do all we can to help out. So if you see something, say something. Thank you.
Thank you
I
very
could
much.
also point out, since you did that, right before that, the 29th of this month, March 29th, is National Vietnam Veterans Recognition Day. I think we all know a Vietnam vet. I probably know more than you. Say thank you. With that, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.